Another school year comes to an end as spring sports close their seasons. You will want to catch all of this one. Dusty did. Click your heels and smile to the camera. We will bring you all the outs and all of the putts, so tag your friends. This show is a winner. Sports Night is next.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sports Night. I'm Joe Young.
And I'm Howie Shapiro. Joe, we're done with another spring season.
A
Amazing.
whole other school year.
Wow.
Number 21 in the books.
That's amazing.
For those of you counting at home. But yeah, we got a little bit of business to take care of to wrap up the spring season with a nice little bow. Glad we were able to get it in. It was really tough with a lot of different schedules we were trying to get done as we're getting into the summer. But glad we could get it done right away this week. Very excited to start the show by talking about Brielle Clark's second appearance at the state tournament. Oh, so close. Brielle Clark just 2 100ths away from getting to the finals in the 100-meter dash, but still a season best and a great way to finish a fantastic career here at Coon Rapids High School. Would have loved for her to have that one last race for a state championship, but a season best is always nice to go out on.
Congratulations to her. She's a phenomenal athlete, very, very, very fast, and they're going to miss her. It's going to be tough to replace.
Yeah, and Brielle getting to state, definitely a great way to cap off the season for the track and field teams. It was not the only highlight. Both boys and girls teams showed steady improvement in their times and distances across the board from the start to the end of the year. And even better, both teams are packed with a lot of young talent. After the slow start to the season because of the weather, the track and field teams hit the ground running. Girls quickly showed they had a lot of top-level talent and would compete for podium spots in every meet. Brielle Clark, certainly the star from day one, dominating the short-distance sprints every time she took the track, but she was not alone. The Cardinals had a number of other standouts. Young hurdler Grace Henneman did a great job filling the shoes of two-time state hurdler Amber Harris, who graduated last year. Senior Kamika Hurdle proved to be one of the top pole vaulters in the conference section. And Ellie Biggins and Ellen Everhart were a couple of the best throwers around as well. And that's just a few. The Cardinals had a wealth of young talent that was just behind them and looking to get stronger and faster in the future. Team finished 11th in the conference championship, 8th in both the section championship and the true team meet. They hope to improve on both of those numbers next spring. Boys' story is similar. They had enough talent to help them finish middle of the pack in the meets early in the season, but not enough depth to contend in the conference and section meets. The boys got some strong contributions, made them competitive in several events, but this was a foundation-setting season. Seniors paved the way to set the tone. Gael and Tomway won the long jump at the conference championships. Ricky Soto took first place in discus and the true team meet, and Jeff Smith was a consistent contender in pole vault as well. Plus, there were a lot of younger athletes just starting to show what they will be capable of. Junior Abdisa Koji is a strong mid-distance sprinter who scored a lot of team points this season, and sophomore hurdler Spencer Hoyam able to hold his own every meet. There were 24 juniors on the year's squad who will be ready to lead the Cardinals next year, and the freshman and sophomore classes have also shown a lot of potential. The team didn't have the type of success they would have hoped for this year, but a lot of guys gained valuable experience, and they'll be looking to build on it next spring. And we see a couple of shots also of Paul Breitbach. He's certainly one of the notable names on the boys' seniors list, but there are your dozen or so girls. Damola Adamola Green, Hadi Bayo, Brielle Clark, Wilmay Cooper, Olafunke Badamosi, Skylar Giese, Hannah Gross, Kamika Hurdle, Mary Oludayo, Alyssa Sowers, Ashley Tilke, Alrita Wumasi, and Angela Wumasi. That's Alfreda Wumasi and Angela Wumasi. Manje Williams. That was a whole mouthful. There's the boys.
Some more.
Not quite as many, and that's a good thing. The boys looking to build on what they did this year, and as I mentioned, Paul Breitbach, one of those guys, he's been on that with that program 4, 5, maybe even 6 years. I know he's been running cross country since his 7th grade year, so a long and storied high school career coming to an end. Sidney Achi, Jordan Brown, Katoya Kalisti, Samuel Larson, Dion McMahon, Gael Tomboy, Kenneth Nwachi, Daniel Pudubny, and I'm going to butcher this one, and I even got a freebie as he is one of the captains that talked to us in the beginning, but it's Nathan Renatius, I believe, and that's probably wrong. Jeff Smith, Ricky Soto, and Thomas Silla.
Yund at ctnstudios.com if you want to send them any
Does that still work?
I don't know. I don't even look at my email anymore, unfortunately. You know, we always talk about the seniors and the people the kids they're going to lose. But as you mentioned in that piece, a lot of young athletes that are contributing.
A lot of youth and a lot of numbers. And I think that's throughout the sports in the spring is a testament to all of them. Not only the numbers that they started with, but numbers they finished with, considering that everybody was delayed 2, 3, even 4 weeks at the beginning of the season. I'm sure a lot of coaches. I'm pretty sure we're expecting to lose some, and it seems at the end of the season everybody still had a lot of healthy bodies and a lot of eagerness to compete.
Absolutely. Should have said no question. You know what'll be a theme throughout the show. Our record-setting snow in April wasn't.
It did have a little bit of an impact.
Yes, it did. Wasn't exactly celebrated by spring teams. It was pretty much cut their season in half. Not the start the Cardinals baseball squad was hoping for. New coach Matt Mossy was excited to put his mark on the program, but it was more than a little delayed by the weather. And once they did get outside, they did not get the start they had hoped for. Season opener went well with the Cardinals beating conference rival Maple Grove, but after that things went south. The Cardinals lost 8 of their next 9 games, and the only victory in that stretch was at Andover when the Cardinals had to rally from a 7-3 deficit to win in extra innings. They hoped they had turned a corner, but it was a few weeks later before the Cardinals finally got on a roll. They were able to win 5 of the next 6 and get themselves back to a respectable 8-12 record. It also allowed them to open the postseason at home. Unfortunately, that's when Andover got their revenge, handing the Cards a 3-2 loss in the first round of the sections. They won a game against Cambridge Isanti, but their season ended with a loss to Forest Lake. The Cardinals would like to start with more success this year, but they'll take the positives that they can. They beat crosstown rival and eventual section champion Blaine, and they competed well with top-ranked Minnetonka. Their late-season surge serves as a model of what they're capable of, and they hope to pick up next year where they avoid that sluggish start. But they'll have a lot of holes to fill. They'll lose 10 seniors, which includes a lot of their leaders both offensively and defensively. However, they have some strong pieces coming back as well. Junior Kirby Peary led the team in hits and batting average and was one of the team's 2 all-conference players. Plus, they had 2 sophomores who got consistent playing time. So despite losing a lot to graduation, the Cardinals will not be starting from scratch when they hit the field again next spring. I think, Joe, certainly that as you want to talk about the seniors, they had a rough start to the season, able to win a little bit in the middle, but didn't finish the way I know Coach Mossy would have wanted to.
Jackson Bates, Brock Roloff, Ayrton Ost, Adam Offerdahl, Bryce Peterson, Nick Lockenen, Parker Hermanson, Logan Severson, Caleb Ness, and Kyle Olson, the seniors for the Cardinal baseball squad. And I think that's definitely it. But early on, I mean, that changed a lot.
It did.
Everybody wants to do better in the playoffs except the team that finishes in the state championship.
Correct.
But this team, once they got going, they were fun to watch. And unfortunately, down the stretch, they had to do it without their all-conference catcher in Kirby Peary, who suffered an injury and was lost for the last couple of weeks. But they do have some good pieces coming back. Kirby should be back and be healthy. And we saw a couple of different younger pitchers this season get a fair amount of time. If one thing tells me, I believe, is that this is a baseball town, and so there are always guys coming up ready to fill those shoes and keep this program a contender.
Well, as you mentioned, they beat Blaine, who actually are going to be playing tonight in the state tournament. Their game is last. And they played well against Minnetonka, who won their first 3-2 win over Eastview today in the state tournament. So, they've got some things they can take and bring into next year.
Well, and I stole some of that from Coach Don Bright's speech at the baseball banquet. I know that that was the coach's message to the team was we can't be just okay. The last couple of seasons, right around just below that 500 mark, they want to get this program back to being a competitor in the conference and section every year. And history tells us they've got the programs coming up that should be able to do that.
Yeah, and I know you were at the banquet, and my invitation must have been lost in the mail.
I paid to get in. I'm a parent.
I would have paid to go.
Right along. The condensed schedule didn't seem to affect the softball team as they put together, well, maybe a little bit, but they put together a record-setting season that few could have possibly predicted. The Cardinals started the season with an offensive explosion that rewrote the record books, helped them put together one of the best records in recent memory. They will lose a lot of quality players, but they have a lot coming back as well. When the Cardinals were confined to the field house early on, and they started inside for a couple of games as well, they knew they had a lot of talent and a lot of potential. Coaching staff excited about the possibilities, but even they were shocked when they saw how electric this team really was. Cardinals piled up the hits and the runs right away from the first game, but more impressive was their power. They hit at least one home run in each of their first 4 games and 6 of their first 7 games. 6 different players hit home runs for the Cardinals this season, with 4 of them at least tying the previous single-season record of 3. Meg Scheck had 5 home runs, and Elijah Johnson set the new school record with 7. The previous team record for a season was 7. And this year, the squad tripled it with 21 round trips.
Wow.
This impressive offensive power helped them to a 10-2 start by the first week of May. Cardinals scored at least 10 runs 8 times on their way to a 13-6 record. That kind of offense, Cardinals didn't really need outstanding pitching, but they had that as well. At the beginning of the season, they figured sophomore Sam Lom would be one of the best arms in the conference, and when she went down with an injury, Cardinals didn't miss a beat. Fellow sophomore Elijah Johnson and freshman Becca Mastler stepped in, took over, gave the team a chance to win every game. Cardinals' performance earned them a 3rd seed for the section tournament, opened the playoffs by blanking St. Francis 6-0. Unfortunately, they ran into a tough pitcher from Anoka in the second round, and they couldn't battle their way back to the bottom half of the bracket. Overall, they finished 15-8, a record they can certainly be proud of, but no question, Howie, this team will be looking to improve on their tournament play next season. Cardinals lose 5 seniors, 3 that played every game, and 2 that have been varsity players since their freshman year. They've been great leaders and will definitely be missed. But with what they have coming back, the sky really is the limit for this group of Cardinals. Is it a flock of Cardinals?
It's a flock of Cardinals. Or
Kennedy
they can hang
Kerr,
around in a group.
Julia Byrne, Jade Gomez, Rain Ullin, and Reese Ullin, your 5 Cardinal seniors, and very excited about the potential that they have, especially with getting great play from the younger ranks.
This is the feel-good story of the spring sports for Coon Rapids, no doubt. And congrats to Coach Zach Nienaber winning the section coach of the year as well.
Absolutely, well-deserved.
Well-deserved. It just goes to show you what a program he's put together. And obviously, it's not just him; it's the players that he puts on the field. But he has done a really nice job of developing this team. And you're right; there's a lot of excitement for next season.
Well, and I think he can attribute a lot of that to success also, as I talked about with the baseball program, to the feeder program here in Coon Rapids. We watched the girls early on, like first, second week in the gym, and just the way they worked really hard, and they were all coming in. A lot of them played over the winter, which isn't easy to do.
It's not.
And these are multi-sport athletes that continue to strive and work hard, even while they're playing another sport. And they came in ready to play right away, and it showed.
Definitely the feel-good story. It was definitely
I agree.
Fun to watch.
No question.
No question. The boys tennis team gives us possibly the best story of this spring.
This is my feel-good story.
Not because of their success on the courts, because of the way the season unfolded. Cardinals had an amazing turnout with close to 50 boys showing up for tryouts. Rather than turning away a single athlete, Coach Stork added extra coaches so they could give 4 teams, get every kid as many matches as possible. Even more impressive is that the Cardinals' number endured through a very trying start to the season. After starting with weeks inside, the team spent almost an entire week shoveling after the mid-April blizzard so that they could finally get the season started. Even with that, not a single kid dropped out of the program. Tennis is a sport that you can play the rest of your life, and Coach Stork's philosophy has always been to get as many athletes as possible to fall in love with the sport. In that sense, the season was an overwhelming success. Even with all the numbers, the Cardinals only had 2 seniors on the roster, and one of them is an exchange student. There are only a couple of juniors as well, so they're a very large but very young team. The Cardinals did a lot of learning and a lot of growing and a lot of improving during the season. There are a lot of small successes for them to celebrate along the way, and that is what they will build on moving forward. It was easy to see the Cardinals were playing much better later in the season as their skills and their confidence grew. They finished the regular season with a 5-11 record, but it easily could have been much better as they found themselves on the losing end of a lot of close matches. A perfect example is how they ended the regular season and started the section tournament. Cardinals lost a tough 4-3 match to Forest Lake to finish their schedule, but then flipped the script by beating the Knights in the first round of the playoffs. Sure, they would have loved to have had a better record, but what they accomplished is really impressive. They came a long way and they built a great foundation for the future, and most importantly, they didn't give up. They have a ton of kids coming back with a lot of invaluable experience, so it should really be fun to see what they could do as they work their way back to being a contender.
Oh, where are my seniors?
Oh,
Andrew Argeros.
Yeah, there they are.
And Kerman Arortena Edme.
And Argeros was, you talked about players improving their game as the season went on. He was definitely an example of that at first
and
singles.
He played very well all the way along.
Yep.
He was exactly what you want from a senior leader. Not that I'm surprised by that from a hockey goaltender. This is really exciting. I thought it was so fantastic at the beginning of the season when we talked to Coach Stork and he said, you know what, I've got so many kids, I've got to get extra coaches out here.
Great.
We're going to find, I think it's so great. And that to me is a feel-good story. Finding a way for all of these guys. But then you talk about it, only a couple of juniors in the program. That's a whole lot of freshmen and sophomores. So in the next couple of seasons, this should be very good. And I know he's got a lot of multi-sport athletes that he's very excited to have, and how quickly they're growing. I know a couple of kids in the program that had not played tennis up until a year or two ago, and they are absolutely loving it.
Yeah, and credit to Coach Stork for bringing all these kids in, finding a way to make it happen so everyone could play matches, and that is a great feel-good story.
And again, and hats off to the kids for sticking with it through shoveling practices rather
builds
than
character.
Swing practices. Well, keeping things moving, we always talk about how short the spring season is, and especially for golf teams. But this season, again, a little bit of a theme, extra short. Cardinals club spent a couple of extra weeks in the simulators and didn't get on the course until right before it was time to play for real. That was just an extra handicap for a very young Cardinals boys team. Cardinals started the season with very little varsity experience, and they had to learn on the job. It's a bit of a trial by fire, considering the Northwest Suburban is one of the toughest leagues in the state. Hardest part is that there really isn't time to make dramatic improvements in your golf game in the course of a high school season. The real work starts now, with the underclassmen hopefully spending a lot of time on the courts over the summer, get their swing and their game to another level so they'll be ready to be more competitive next spring. Cardinals lineup did fluctuate a bit this year, hoping to find a combination that would lead to the best scores. Unfortunately, no mix of athletes could get the Cardinals out of the conference cellar. They finished last in every conference tournament. The positive note, though, is that they were very young. Cardinals had 2 seniors on the roster, there are a couple of juniors, and a couple of sophomores. In fact, their lowest scores at sections came from one of their youngest members, in Carter Heeman. Now it'll be up to those underclassmen to make big strides and hopefully carry the program forward next spring. Golf, and there are your seniors, Luke Medved and Matt Ammon. Golf is there's a reason it's a 4-letter word. It's very difficult. But no question, in order to get better, you have to play a lot.
Well, and the fact that they able to get onto bunker and play by being part of the team, this is an opportunity for them to improve their game over the summer. So, they can continue to work at their skill and be able to cut down on strokes.
And we certainly hope that the weather will cooperate. Since we all endured that spring.
We did.
It would be nice if the weather would cooperate for the summer.
Well, the girls' golf season, a little bit better. And then, again, they had a little more to start with. The Lady Cardinals, well, they returned most of their starting varsity lineup from last spring. So even though their season was delayed at the start, they had a veteran group that knew what they could expect and looked to pick up right where they had left off. Cardinals started the season with a huge number. More than 30 girls showed up to try out, as interest in the program has been booming thanks to the team's success over the past couple of seasons. At the top were 4 seniors the Cardinals knew that would help them to be competitive every time they took the course. Remember, girls golf in the Northwest Suburban is different. They play head-to-head matches instead of tournaments. Unfortunately, because of the shortened season, they had to play a couple of try and quad meets to get everything in. The hard part of that, if they had an off day, it would mean more because it was essentially playing 2 or 3 matches with the same score. Still, the Cardinals had the talent and experience to give them a chance every day, and they were able to score a couple of wins in conference play. Their scores weren't quite as strong as they were through the most of last year, but still competitive. The Cardinals finished 10th in both the conference and section tournaments, and senior Ellie Carver performed well enough to qualify for the second round of the section tournament, where she finished 26th overall. Carver and her classmates had a very positive impact on the program, and they leave behind a sturdy foundation for future classes to build on. There is still a ways to go for this program to be a true contender in the conference and section. They took another solid step this season, and they should have enough solid players returning next year to continue the momentum.
Ellie Carver, Rachel Bissett, Abby Olson, and Victoria Wensloff, your 4 seniors, and they did get a number of other underclassmen onto the course for varsity matches, got them some experience that will go a long way to moving things forward next spring, and hopefully they'll have a better spring next spring.
Well, yeah, and same with the girls as the boys. Get out this summer, improve your game, cut down your score, and it's going to be better for next season.
Yeah, and certainly the seniors across the board, as we talk about them rolling through all of these sports, you see names that we've seen for a number of years to think about multi-sport athletes, number of years in their different programs, and essentially saying a lot of their names for it the last time. And we've got one more to talk about. The girls lacrosse team, another spring program with a new coach, got off to an unexpectedly slow start. I'm sure when Ashley Swenson was hired as the coach, she didn't plan to start with a couple of weeks stuck in the field house before getting her team on the field. But that's the way it played out. Swenson took over a program that has had a fair amount of success in its short history, but still it took a little bit of time to get everyone on the same page in a new system. Making matters even more difficult was when they saw that a couple of the top teams in the Metro in some of their earliest games. Despite suffering lopsided losses to Armstrong and Centennial early on, you could tell the Cardinals didn't lose any confidence, and there were sparks of what this team was capable of. They were led by a solid group of veteran players, and their new coach has a focus on becoming a little more creative offensive squad, and they were able to give opposing teams fits in the attacking end. Cardinals only managed a 3-10 record in the regular season, but 4 of those losses were by just 1 goal, and 2 of those were in overtime. So it could have easily turned out much better. Could have easily been 7-6. 1 goal goes the other way. 2 of their wins were against conference opponents, though, and their 3 wins was just enough to get them a home game in the play-in round of the section tournament. They dominated the action against Hermantown Proctor, who gave up at halftime, before losing to an eventual section champion Blaine squad, who is that was in the section quarterfinal. It's not quite the season they were hoping for, but it's a start for the program now that Swenson is in charge. They'll be forced to fill a lot of holes next year as the team loses 6 seniors, including their goalkeeper and their 3 top scorers. But they did have some strong contributions from underclassmen like Grace Anula and Anessa McCarr, just to name a couple, and they will be looked to lead the squad into the future. This is a team It's been a true contender for most of its 10-year history. No reason to doubt they won't be right back in the mix very near future. There are your seniors: Taylor Garvis, Lauren Krochak, Jordan Keller, Alyssa Brazier, Megan Corey, and Paige Fosslin.
You know, unfortunately, we only had the opportunity to do one game, and this year, and hopefully next year, we'll get a little more coverage for the girls lacrosse squad. But when we were on the field, and I talked to Coach Swinson,
the condensed schedule didn't help us out.
I totally agree.
Here either.
I totally agree. But what I did when we went on the field and we talked to Coach Swinson, she said the girls are really buying in. We did get off to a slow start, but she saw the momentum and she saw the girls buying into the program. So now it's an opportunity. Again, it's like we always talk about, take what you learned this year, work on your skills, and develop it for next season, and they should be improved squad.
Well, and again, she was making dramatic. It's one thing to go into the baseball or other, in the field house,
right,
and you're kind of playing the same game she's bringing in whole new systems, which you could see on offense, the way that they were moving the ball. You can't really do a lot of that in the gym, unfortunately. You just don't get
it. Takes
it
time
doesn't
to adjust.
work as well.
It does, and especially with a new system, it takes time to adjust.
Even would have taken a while had they been on the field right away. But the being in the field house definitely made it that much more difficult. But it was an exciting season all the way around. Like you talked about, a couple of really good stories.
Yes.
The softball team's record-setting season, and to me, the tennis team's inclusion and success in keeping nearly 50 kids. But and we saw a lot of that too. Girls golf had 32 girls out to start the season, which is fantastic. So a lot of these programs, they're not quite there yet, but they're growing and they're building, and that's fantastic.
And that's what you need.
And we're done.
We're done. It's a little teary-eyed, but we'll be back. We're going to be doing some Legion ball over the summer.
Yeah, we'll get some stuff in. We'll be around through the summer, but we will definitely be here in the spring. We got we'll have some summer sports nights for you at some point as well. But we're officially wrapping up another school year. Woo. Spring season is in the books. Want to thank everybody out there for joining us, continuing to support everything we do here at CTN. For the entire crew, including our producer Neil Highlights Hennon, Howie Shapiro to my right, I'm Joe Young saying good night.